So, as many of you guys have seen, yesterday, Saturday, and that was what day are we on? March the 28th, they had the No Kings March. And of course, I saw it in my city here in Northern California. I didn't realize that that was what's going on. I keep up with some news, but I'm not keeping up with the news all the time. So you can imagine my surprise when I went out to do my little bit of shopping and take care of a little bit of my agenda items that I come across a corner on a major street right next to a mall that's kind of hanging on by the thread, and there was just this long possession. Excuse me, this long line. I almost said possession, but maybe there was a little bit of that. That could be the Most High kind of speaking through me because it was something that I had never really seen before. The majority, if not all, of the protesters were white people. And not only that, but as I was passing from one street to the next, it had to be about 4 blocks long. It was pretty substantial, it was not small fries. And most of them had to be in retirement age or definitely on some type of SSI or Medicare types. There were little to no middle-aged to young people a part of that protest. They were deep. They were deep. It was a substantial number of men and women, and there were a lot of horns being blasted, of course, in support of them. And then I went to another small shopping center, the same thing with the same group of people. I basically, yesterday there were at least 4 different areas throughout the city that I've seen personally with my own eyes, where there was a substantial, not like you can count them on one hand, I mean a substantial group of people. And of course, hearing the reports today, the universe or the Most High has and the angels have brought to my attention as to what is underneath that and what is it signaling. It is signaling not so much that they don't like the particular government or president in the office, in as much as they are noticing some of the goodies, gifts, and giveaways that have been given to them all this time is actually being taken away. That is what it's proven to me, that there is a noticing in real time that there is something being taken away from them. Now, personally, I know that they have said like Medicare and SSI and some of the things that we all know about, and including immigration. But I submit to you that there may be other things that these people have access to that the rest of us, especially descendants of American slaves, that we do not have access. That's also being pulled. And now with the war effort underway, that means a lot of those gifts and giveaways are also going to be pulled in order to fund the war that's going on in the Middle East. So what this tells me, the bottom line, is that we are looking at the deconstruction of white rule and white supremacy. When you have the average everyday white person being affected and out here protest to the point of out here protesting, then you know that something has dramatically changed. And that change is to our favor. And I'm talking about the children of Yah. Praise the name of the Holy One, because our freedom draws nigh. That's what that reassurance came. And of course, it is also signaling the dependence on free to damn near free labor that these people depend on. We also have the immigration that they're out there for too. And we are reminded that there is something either inherently missing from them as a people, or the reluctance to do for themselves, to pull, as they always tell us, to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You know, with the immigration, the main things with the farming is with the caregiver aspect, is with whatever they were doing. You know, I'm talking about the illegal uh, people, the illegal aliens that were coming in here, have been coming in here since the 70s, and that the last president, President Biden, had let them in, and everybody else, including America's quote unquote enemies. So, but the key factor with that particular thing is that these people, and I will say the Latino people, were helping them for little or no money, little or no money. And the reason why they were able to do that and still thrive is because they were getting all these other things on the back end. They were still getting these grants and giveaways on the back end that were not given to the descendants of American slaves. If you look at my other audios regarding immigration, I do speak about working in a business where the Hispanics would be able to come in and they would give us paperwork to prove that they could get $10,000 a month, depending on what, and it was something specifically set aside for them. Like the paperwork was all about them, and that has never been done. That type of recoupment or recuperation has never been given to descendants of American slaves, even though out of all the people on the planet, especially when it comes to America, we deserve it more than anyone. Like that should have been, it was a nine to 10 page fill out that they would bring in, and we would fill it out, and it was all about them. It was all about, basically they would ask them questions that only they, as a people from Mexico or people from Latin America coming into the country, only they would have the answer to, you see. And because we had a lot of their information, we could fill out our portion to back up their claim for that monthly allowance. So although there, many of them were probably out there on the farms, or they were probably out there being maids, or they were probably out there doing manual labor and getting paid little to nothing, it wasn't that they were without. They had a lot of things that California in particularly set aside just for them to have, and it wasn't small potatoes. So they could house and feed themselves, send money over to the mother country, so to speak, send money back home to their relatives. And of course, the cost of living in the south part of America or even in Mexico is vastly different. So $100, which may not go far from here in America, could do a lot more down in that area, and thus prepare any other family member to come up and in to the United States of America. See, this is something that the Most High is making these ones who were out here yesterday on Saturday, making them pay for, because what they are showing us in the world, but mostly the Most High God, what they are proving is that we could have did it to your people. We could have did it to the people who have been done grievously wrong by us and by our ancestors. But no, we would rather give it to people who have not earned such benefits at all and do not deserve to have such benefits. Yes, I'm saying that because the people who are immigrating here illegally usually are coming from countries that they have whole and lock, stock, barrel. Like people in the government look, talk, and act just like them. Now, if their leaders sell them out, then that's a personal internal problem for them to deal with. That is not what we are dealing with here in the United States of America. It is far more damning. And we have had to deal with it through our blood, sweat, and tears. We had to put our lives on the line. Many of our loved ones lost their lives violently. Not just the ones that have been mentioned in history, but what about all the ones who have never gotten a mention, but had to use courage and still lost their lives? Families torn apart, even some families completely unalived. And yet, what little bit that we got with the Civil Rights Bill, these people then took that. I'm talking about this nation of America, took that twisted it and gave our blessing to another people who had not earned it and did not deserve it. There is no way that the Most High is going to bless this nation. And so that is what I saw out there. And I did honk my horn, but it wasn't for them. It was actually in support and thanking the Most High that I got to witness this, that I got to see it for myself and know that I'm on the right track and not on the wrong one. And so it is clear that it is not going to get any better for these people. It is not going to, the comfortable position that they're in, they know, they can feel the spirit of it, that this country is over. And the comfortable position that they're in is over as well. And what they are seeing is the oncoming fire for them. And no amount of them doing what we done. See, we got out there and protested and did that because we had no power as a people. The very fact that these people are trying to emulate us, that is also abhorrent to the Most High. They have the capacity to do so much more, but they are refusing to because what it calls for, what it means. What it means is that the country itself is rotten to the core and it needs to go by the wayside. And in its place, something new and just will be born. But if we were to call upon them as a wholesale, as a group of people, they are not going to do that because they don't want to lose their status. They don't want to lose their status, even though they know enough about us. They know enough about us that if we were to get any real power, we would do justly. But then that would mean they can't be in this illusion of supremacy. It's a real sick thing when you think about it. That's the reason why they preferred to copy what our ancestors and what we do. We do that because we don't have many of the stockpiles and weaponry that they have. And not only that, but we're not even that kind of people, even though we have, not to say the kind of people that go around conquering and stealing stuff from other people. We're not that. But we do fight and we do know how to fight. But the Most High has stripped us of the mechanism in order to do that in real time. So now we're just operating spiritually. But I think that will change in the coming moments of the last final gasp of white hegemony. And all those who subscribe to whiteness and want to find a comfortable position in white supremacy. All of that is coming down. But what I also see is the absence of the young. So perhaps Generation X and younger, perhaps Generation X, Millennials, Generation Y, Z, and so forth. Perhaps we're dealing with a different breed of white women and white men. Perhaps. I'm just taking an observation of, I've seen up to 4 different protests in my city, and all of them were with people who were basically elderly. The majority of them were basically elderly. I was hard pressed to try to find a very young person. And I'm talking about, it was city blocks long, as far as, several blocks long, as far as the different areas that they had occupied. So they were out there. They were really out there. Probably even Gen X, but I didn't see too many. I'm talking about white hair, glasses. Some of them were in wheelchairs. Some of them had walkers. Some of them had, their lawn chairs. They had the glasses on and the hat on. I mean, totally baby boomer. Quite possibly even what remains of the silent generation were out there. And so that was in Northern California. It may have been different elsewhere. But I tell you that that it was not fronted by young folk. Maybe they have gotten it. Maybe they have gotten the lesson. Although it's too late to say the country over them finally capitulating. But perhaps, as I was saying with my last audio, and you can look at that from yesterday, and when I talked about the Lord's great army, I said that there was a possibility that a significant number of them folks will defect to our side. And as it is coined and I don't remember the person who coined this, but as it's coined, you cannot have a revolution until a significant side of the opposition defects to your significant number defects to your side. And so perhaps in Generation X, perhaps in Millennial, you might have some that are in strategic places in the armed forces, in particularly those who work in the government, those who work in businesses that have many of the Gen Xers that are now running it, those who run X, those who run, um, who are behind the AI, uh, people like Peter Thiel, who's basically a Gen Xer. So all of those areas where you have people placed from our generations, you never know. You could have someone in those areas to that will be willing to produce justice. They see the handwriting on the wall, and they have to decide for themselves whether or not they are going to do what is necessary to spare their family members the onslaught of God's justice. He can or she can be merciful. She can be merciful, and the Bible kind of seems to allude to that mercy. But in the aftermath of Armageddon, they will be washed. They will be washed because there will be no trying to, let's see if we can come together again and bring it back, bring the old America back. There will be none of that whatsoever. When it's done, it is done. And it's going to be done for several hundred years while the whole human race is dealt with in a manner that will give them the most opportunity to get on the path of perfection, so that when the final test is given hundreds of years from now, they've been given everything possible for them to pass the test and to go and live on into however many millennia that we were originally built to live. And that's another thing, is that in the past, because we have not been given the history, because that has been cut off from us 6,000 years prior to Satan getting a hold or been given a hold of all the worlds, we don't know how long those people had lived. I mean, when you look at many of the what remains of the structures that that are around us, especially here in the United States of America, you would have to have lived a really, really long time in order to develop that type of precision and technology to build edifices that are not only detailed in their design, it's perfection. It's like 90 degrees is perfectly 90 degrees. And but aside from the destruction from whatever battle took place, for the most part, since these people have arrived here in 1492, these structures that have already been in place are still standing to our day. That's hundreds of years that these structures are still here, still vital, still strong. And even with the Washington Mall and the White House and where the Congress, the House of Congress, where they go and meet, that is not something that was built by white folks. That is something that is hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old. So that should tell you something about the Bible when it delineates between two creations. Who were the male and female that were originally created? And so all these truths have to come to light. It's not going to come to light with these people. They're too invested in the lie. They're too invested in the lie. And they want the lie to live just long enough so that they can get into the grave. Believe me, I'm not being mean by saying that. I've heard in my own life, I have literally heard out of the mouths of old elderly white people before they passed on. They were just happy that they literally would say, well, I won't be around when that happens. When oh goodness, when you would even try to broach the area of justice, it was more or less, I got mine, my children and grandchildren and whoever were going to have to get theirs. It will be their turn to uphold all of this. So for the very fact now that having them out there denotes that they know, because these are the old wise ones. These are the old wise white supremacists that were out throughout the United States of America. That's a signal that is not to be ignored about the loss of their power. About the loss of their power. And that power is just not going to disappear. That power is going to go elsewhere. And what I submit to you is that when Satan told Jesus that these worlds had been given to me, that means he had been given power over them, over the worlds. That power is now gone. So where is that power going to go to right now? Where is it going to go? Because they ain't disappearing. It's going to go somewhere. Anyway, thank you for listening.